Hello again. Way back in the beginning of the series, I talked a little bit about how to log into SSH servers on other systems using the Mac, Windows, Linux, or whatever. And we set up an account. I think it was episode 3 where we created an account with DigitalOcean and logged in with SSH. Now we're great, and we set it up nice with a password. You type in your username, you type in your password, and you log in. You've logged into things with your name and password a million times and know how to do that. But it's not the most secure way of going. The problem with a password is you have to remember it. So you tend to make things easy. Password 12345. Come on, you've got a password somewhere that's 12345. Everybody does. But that's not secure. Anybody can guess that. There are cracking logins and bots out there that will try repeatedly to hack your password, and simple ones like that are the easiest ones to come up with. What's your pet's name? What's your cat's name? What's your dog's name? What's your birth date? These are all very common passwords, and they're easy to guess. They're easy to hack. With a little bit of social engineering, you can find out an awful lot about a person just by asking them a few questions. And there are solutions to hard passwords like 1Password or LastPass or something like that will make up really complicated passwords for you, but they're still stored somewhere, whether it's on your computer or on 1Password's site or however those things work. There's still a password out there. And if that's not the case, you've got to worry about the other end with the server side. How many companies have you heard of that have been hacked that stored your passwords on their end in plain text? Somebody can just go in, load up a big text file, and see what your password is. If you sign up for a service and ask them what your password is, and they can tell you, they're not a very secure company. They shouldn't be able to look at your password. It should just be some scrambled string of garbage to them. You need to manage your passwords. But even then, there are weaknesses. So there's another way to log into SSH. There's another way to log into a terminal that doesn't use passwords. It's called the SSH key pair system. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do this one on the computer. I'm using a Mac right here today, but Linux does it exactly the same way, and I'll bet Windows is really close. But next week we'll do it on the iPad. We'll go back to Blank and Termius and see how to do those. But for this time, let's look how to set up SSH keys on your computer. First thing you want to do, start up a terminal shell. Make it a little bigger for you. Now I'm going to put my local computer stuff on the left and the terminal things on the right, so I'm going to split this down the middle. This is something iTerm can do that a lot of other terminals can't. So the first thing you want to do is make a public key. And this is done with, back in episode 3 with the DigitalOcean, I set up a DigitalOcean server. It was called AmazingSerials.com, and I used a name and a password for that. In this video, I'm going to set it up so I don't have to use the password anymore. I'm going to use SSH from here on out. So, SSH keygen, and it's going to generate a public-private RSA pair, and you can enter a file name in which to save the key. Now, don't mess with this. Just go with what it's got there. Your account, .ssh folder, IDRSA is the name of the folder. Let it go with that, just default. And there is already a file for that, which I don't care about. I'm going to overwrite it, so yes. Enter a passphrase. Okay, a little while ago I said with SSH and RSA, you don't need passwords, and that's true. But you can have a password if you want to have one for an even more secure system. Let's do it first without the password, or without the passphrase. So I'm just going to hit empty, and it won't use one. Enter the same thing again. Just enter because there wasn't one. And then it's got this thing here, which we don't need to worry too much about. There's a key fingerprint here that has some text, and this random art, which is some systems use this. We're not going to worry about that this time. And now it's done, basically. We have the 2 keys already made. There's a key for the server, which is called the public key because it's available to the public. and a private key, which is on your computer. When you log in with SSH and RSA keys, basically it compares the private key to the public key, and they have to be compatible. They've got to fit together. The key has to go in the keyhole, so to speak. So this just created two keys, one on my end and one on the other end. Well, actually, right now they're both here on my computer. I've got to send this key up to the server. So I'm going to do that now. What you do, there's a command called SSH copy ID, and you can tell it where to send it. There's my site, SSH copy ID Brian@AmazingSerials.com. And chances are, if you set up your server normally, that's all you need. And I'm going to do this, and it's going to give me an error message, I think. Yeah, connection refused. I've changed my port number on Amazing Serials, so it's not the default 22 anymore. So what I can do, I can go back and change this. -P, and the new port that I've been using is 1616. Guess I'm going to have to change it again after this. But if you have your server on an oddball port or a non-standard port, just put in the -P and the number of the port. So this time it will work, and take a second. And it asks for the password of that server, which I will paste in. Even with all this RSA keys and things like that, I still use a very long, very complicated password, managed by 1Password on the Mac. Okay, so number of keys added 1. Now try logging into the machine with this thing right here, and make sure that only the keys you want were added. Okay, so now I'm going to go over here and type what it said to type. I will go to that server, SSH -P 1616. Again, you don't need the -P 1616 if you're using the standard ports. It's a little more secure, though, if you use a non-standard port, because people won't guess it unless you make a video and use your port in it. And then you have to change things. Okay, so SSH -P 1616, optional, Brian@AmazingSerials.com. And I'm in. That's it. It did not ask me for a password or anything. This is, on the right-hand side of my screen, is logged into my DigitalOcean server. And as many times as I want to do this, let me log out. SSH P 1616, Brian@AmazingSerials.com. Bang, boom, I'm in. It no longer asks for a password. Very easy. Now, if somebody else sits down on my computer, yeah, they can get right into that. They just sit here, they're going to hit the up key, boom, 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 and they're in. There's no security on my end. But somebody from Florida or California or Ukraine or whatever, are they going to guess that RSA key? No. Nobody else can get in. But it's still a weakness on this end right here because there's no password anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this whole process again, but this time I'm going to use a passphrase. So you have both. You got the best of both worlds here. Let me clear my screens up. Okay, so we're going to go back over here and do the same things we did before, only this time we're going to add a password. Start out with SSH Keygen. And you take the file, just the default file. It already exists. You want to overwrite? Yes. Enter the passphrase. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Enter the same passphrase again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously, you want to do something better than 1, 2, 3, 4. But you've already got the keys in there, so, you know, it's not super crucial that it has to be super secure. Obviously, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm messing around. But okay, then it does that whole fingerprint thing. And then I do the same thing before. I'm just moving up to go back to my history. SSH copy ID to that port. Again, enter. And it's going to put that in there. And it wants to know my server password. You still got to have that password in order to do system side things, upgrading, updating your repositories, installing software. The password is still You got to have that for sudo and root type access. So don't forget your password. You'll still need it. But now there's a passphrase. And this is ready to go. Over here on this side, I will log in again. Enter passphrase. And if I hit enter, it will default to the password. I can take that password out. But right now, let's not. Let's just do this a couple times. And it's hung up on me. I've tried too many times. Try that again. Enter the passphrase. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm in. This time it worked just like before, only this time it still requires a kind of a password. That passphrase is there. Let me get out. Try that one more time just to show you one more time. It's always going to ask for the passphrase. It's still got the benefit of that public key and the private key, but now it's got the passphrase as well. One more step. Okay. And I'm in. Now, like I did a minute ago, if I don't know the passphrase, I've forgotten the passphrase, or if I'm hacking the system, for instance, I can hit enter, I don't know, and it still asks for that password. And if I use that password, I can get in the old-fashioned way. So that kind of defeats the purpose of the security. So what you want to do is get rid of the ability to use the passwords. And I'll show you how to do that right now. Okay, so to disable the password ability, you go into the server side. So here I am logged into my DigitalOcean account already, and I want to sudo vim, whatever editor you like. If you like Nano, you can use Nano. It doesn't really matter. And we're going to SSH _config. Boom, and it's got a whole bunch of stuff here. Funky syntax highlighting, but we're looking for two things we need to change. The first one is right down here, permit root login. This lets people log in to, well, this lets the root user log in with a password. You don't really want that. So we're going to delete the little hashtag, #, whatever, and then we're going to make that a no. So now no one can log in as root from remote. With the DigitalOcean system, I can still do it from their website, from my main control panel, and that's good enough for me. I rarely need to get in as root, so yeah, whatever. I'll just get rid of that possibility entirely. Then, the other thing we need to change is this one right here, password authentication yes. This allows you to log in with a password. I will put a little hashtag there to comment that out. Actually, I won't. I'll leave that there, and I'll just change it to no. And that's it. I will escape, write, and quit, and it should have been done. Okay, so now I've changed the configuration file for the SSH server, that little text file with the password stuff in it, and now I need to reboot the system. Well, not really reboot, but I need to reset the SSH server. So the command for that is to sudo systemcontrol restart SSH. And this will not reboot the computer, but it will reset all the SSH server stuff. It'll accept all those changes I just made. So I will put my password in, and that's done. You don't really see much there. Now I'll log out. Okay, we're out, and I'll log back in, enter the passphrase, and it still asks for the password. Now this is a tricky part, because it works that way on this system because I've got those keys installed. I've still got the keys installed. This way, in case you don't know the passphrase, you can still use the password. And here that goes. I will paste that in. And it works. But if I were trying to get in from somebody else's computer, somewhere else, that didn't have the keys in it, this wouldn't work. So it looks like it still accepts the password, but that's not the case. Okay, so we're in. And that is a couple different ways you can do it. That was getting in one with the password, and I will exit. Now I'll get in that one last time using the actual passphrase. Boom. Okay, so we've installed the SSH keys on the server and on the local system. We've done it without a passphrase, just quick and easy, boom, 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 and get right in. If your system is secure, you can do it with a passphrase, which is got the keys and the passphrase in it, or you can do it with the key with the passphrase, or if you forget the passphrase, you can do a password on your system with the keys on it. Lots of different options there. It's all pretty simple though, really. Next week, we'll look at doing this on a mobile device, which makes it really nice not to have to enter all those passwords. And of course, if you don't want to wait for next week, you can pick up the book, Going Text, Mastering the Power of the Command Line. Sold wherever books are sold. And I'll see you next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya.